These two books here by Timothy Freke, F-R-E-K-E, and Peter Gandy. Jesus Mistress came out, and then Jesus and the Lost Goddess. There have been several books written on Christianity, on it being nothing but something that was plagiarized from earlier stuff. But Jeremiah did it at the turn of the century, but he had to be real technical and real cryptic because he couldn't leave no stones unturned, because he was trying to prove to the academia world. When people buy that and stuff, it's so, for people that's not a researcher, it's kind of hard to get through his stuff. Well, these two books here put it plain and simple. These books here, a high school student can get it. And that means that any preacher or anybody can get this type of stuff and access this particular information on the whole Jesus mysteries, being done, and comparing it with Jesus, Osiris, and Dionysus, and all of the ancient, the ancient world, Osiris and Dionysus. But these particular books wipes out modern religion. You see, the Jesus mysteries, was Jesus a Pagan God by Timothy Freke and Peter Gandy. This one is the Jesus and the Lost Goddess, the secret teachings of the original Christians. Now, it's interesting because they're going to deal with a lot of the Lost Goddess, and he tells you that's Sophia. They're going to be dealing with Mary Magdalene. You're going to hear a lot about Mary Magdalene. Because what they want to do is they want to steal, what they want to do is they want to steal, try to symbolically make these people into historical figures. See, that's where you lose. When you make these into historical figures, other than the coming of the spirit of a future people, that's where you lose. So they still want to do this stuff, so everything going to be about Mary Magdalene. You see, and they're trying to trace this bloodline of Christ. That's going to be the whole thing, the bloodline of Christ and the genealogy. There is no historical aspect of that. The people who wrote these mysteries was talking about a future people. Now this is very key because the government knows it, and although you have been disenfranchised because black folks have lost their damn minds. And we talk about the masses, the dead folks. And we conscious motherfuckers are actually questionable. You know? You gotta limit yourself to one or two of them. But we all we got. But, so you being disenfranchised, but this whole Iraqi war and all of this type of stuff we're gonna get in tonight is still based on you. So the mystery here is the Christ is a coming people. A coming people. In that case, believe it or not, America had to be. Everything that we're going through had to be. White folks had to be. Everything, believe it or not, no matter how horrible we think it is, everything is just like it's supposed to be. And it had to go this way. The whole concept was to produce a new people on the planet Earth. But not a new people out of a newer people. It had to be to produce a new people from the world's oldest people. You see? From the world's oldest people. Now, those new people, and I talked about this several times before, had to have had, because they're talking about the blood. So they're giving you all this Mary Magdalene shit. That's to throw you off. So they're telling you about the bloodline of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene is nothing but Ishtar in one thing, Isis in another, Sekhmet. You see what I'm saying? And all of these particular ancient forms of the Great Mother, you see, that will be in the future goddesses, and you're the only ones can do this. You that went through slavery. It can't even be the Africans on the continent. It's got to be the Africans in the diaspora. Because the ones in the diaspora are more African than the Africans on the continental aspect. I mean, what I mean by that. And I talk about this. The continental African might have one strain of the original aspect inside of them. The diaspora African has multiple strains, and especially the African in this particular country. Because this particular country, we have more strains of the African tribes. All you got to do is, in Milo Rizard's book, Secrets of Voodoo, 1950s, they counted 14 to 15 different African nations that went into constructing voodoo. In Reginald Crosley's book, in 2000, which is almost 40 years later, he counts 25 different African nations that constructs voodoo in the Western Hemisphere. So what they're saying here is, in our bloodline, we have close to 25 or 30 different African nations, because they dropped them off in smaller groups in America and broke them up. You see what I'm saying? So in our bloodline, we have the final product. It's called the Great Mixing Bowl in the West. There's a whole chapter on the... Now, it's interesting because once the Great Mixing Bowl comes about, that is called the feminine face of God. We're going to get into this shit. And under the feminine face of God, the Shekinah, the feminine face of God, under that Shekinah, tell them don't be discouraged. We'll find some chairs if there's some sisters out there want to get in. You know the deal. Some brother will unask the chair. Now, we got 1, 2, 3. We got about 3, 4 chairs. Anyway, in the feminine face of God. Y'all all right? This is very important. In the feminine face of God. In the feminine face of God, the Shekinah comes back when there's a group of ancient Africans that's remixed together in the West. In Gershom Scholem's book, The Mystical Sphere of the Godhead. The mystical sphere of the Godhead. Now, this is very important. In Gershom Scholem's book, The Mystical Sphere of the Godhead, he's a top Kabbalistic Jew. Died in 1982. He said that the feminine face of God, when it returns, it will be a great mixing bowl in the West. And the bloodlines will be mixed together. And that's why you catching hell today. Because the imposter Jew knows that he is a freak out of Europe, and you are the original person that was remixed in the West. That's remixed in the West. You see, you are the one. And America, now let's go on, because there's several texts. In the Grail mythology, y'all all right? Show you how this shit is all about you. Even to the Iraqi war. Let nobody fool you. Ain't shit over there. They got 1,000 dig sites over there trying to dig up something to save themselves, but it's about you. And the shit is going on right now. I'm telling you this shit here because every time me and the sister get busy, you know what I mean by get busy, the shit rains. And we make the shit rain every day until the damn house starts getting mildew. We said, we got to cut this shit out. And we just stopped the shit and it stopped raining. When she get wet, goddamn it get wet outside. You see. Serious business. So this means we are the people. Now listen, this is very important. Sometimes you just got to get to the meat of what's going on. Now, the feminine face of God that the Jews in Israel is looking for and fronting, they know that they're not the one. First of all, it's supposed to come from a humble people and a poor people. They're the richest motherfuckers on the planet. See what I'm saying? They are the money changers, the grandees, the money changers. And the Bible says Jesus will run the money changers from the temple. You see what I'm saying? Now, the great mixing bowl that's supposed to be in the West with the bloodline, now they're coming all up with this. The Christians is talking about, it's the Mary Magdalene. And that's the bloodline. But it ain't nothing but the black woman is Mary Magdalene. See, that's what this book is breaking down, Jesus and the goddess. Let me move that out the way. They're breaking that down about Sophia, Mary Magdalene, but they trace the shit back to Dionysus and Psyche, Isis, and Osiris. Now, this particular bloodline, in the Grail mythology, the Queen of England says when Prince Philip, little white boy, when he gets a certain age, he's supposed to change himself to King Arthur. Now there's a book, Once Upon a Future King. Camelot, which is called Cam, which is black. Lot, which is a state. Camelot, it means the New Egypt. That's America. You go to Washington, D.C. and see that. Or go to fucking Las Vegas. See what I'm saying? Or go to Eatonton. You understand? Now all bullshit aside, that's what they really wanted. And then they stormed the land. They took the land last Friday. Okay. We know that when the guys got the awards for bringing in Dr. York, that the police officer said that we couldn't have done it without the ADL, Anti-Defamation League. The Jews is the one that brought him down. So it's a vested interest that land out there with all the pyramid structures and stuff had to go. And come to find out it was the Jews behind the shit. See what I'm saying? Now the mystery here is why? Because they know that the people that they talk about, there will be a people in a land far, far away not established yet. That's in the Highlander movie, Highlander 1. We are immortal. And we will have a great gathering in a land in the future. In the Camelot mystery, and Avalon is what the great gathering is supposed to be in the future. That land, now those are the different mythologies. The oldest is the Hermetic one that said that we will be gathered together in a land where all races will be in the future, and there will be a group of Egyptians or Camites that will establish Maya. So now the Jews know, which is the fake priesthood for the Illuminati, that we are the ones. And as a result, there's nothing like black folks. No, we will characterize this shit as it is. We're not talking about the Africans. We're talking about straight up niggers. A nigger is a new invention. A nigger was a bad invention for some of us. But we are new people, and there's something about us that's unlike any other indigenous people on the earth. It's easy to be despised, or it's easy to be glorified, because there is nothing as created as we are, even at our most fucked up damn level. Right? So we are the new people. They know this, so as a result, they say we must isolate the messianic people. We must isolate the messianic people, and as a result, we must put them under Homeland Security, martial law. Okay? Now let me explain what's going on here. You had recently these pictures of Abu Ghraib prison where they had the people torturing the prisoners. The soldiers torturing the prisoners, right? I need to ask you a question. Who gave those pictures to the world? The people who gave the pictures to the world was the same United States government and the same United States Army. And then they say, we have more. Then they came out 2 weeks ago and say that this whole thing in Iraq, while we went over there, was a hoax, it was wrong, we was lied to, and all of that. All right? Who did that? Was it some other people outside of America, or was it the American government themselves saying we were wrong? Hell, it took them 30 years to admit that they was wrong in Vietnam. Okay, going right along. Then this movie, Fahrenheit 9/11, comes out, again, admitting that there's something rotten in the cotton in America. Right? So you would ask yourself, why would a people who standing around the world amongst indigenous people, and they had 1 million people from Britain protest the war? France, Germany, everybody protesting the war. Now, if you got all this many people protesting the war, and you go to war, don't bring a damn bullet back. Motherfuckers didn't even find a bullet. And you got all this, you got Arab hatred around the world calling you the great Satan. Why would you go and release pictures on yourself, further proving that you're the great Satan, release whole findings? You didn't do this for 30 years in Vietnam. You doing this shit and the people still over there and saying we wrong. A whole motion picture come out saying we wrong. Right? Why would you do that? The great mystery here is that, number one, this country is not run by America. The Revolutionary War was fake. Ain't no 10 men with no shoes on beat the goddamn British Army. Here go the British Empire, been kicking ass, and 10 men gonna come up here with no shoes on, no teeth, and some muskets and beat the British Army. And you believe that shit? Well, why is it that when America won the so-called Revolutionary War, and you trying to get away from your enemy, why is it that you would establish your court system under Britain? Why would your court system be based off of the same British Parliament? And why is it your educational system be based off the same British Parliament? And why is it that your money system would be based off of the same British Parliament? Right? Now, we know that this is a penal colony. Always has been. Now, 3 things can't happen in this country. Number one, when you appoint a Supreme Court justice, he's there for life. The president can't set him down. Only person can set him down is the Queen of fucking England. The British. Alan Greenspan's job on the stock exchange and the whole money thing is forever. Alan Greenspan has been there since the fucking 80s. And yet they done had 5 presidents damn near. Or at least 4. But his job continues, right? This is a penal colony, because the only other job in this country, when they elect you, when you appointed that job, the president cannot remove you from the job, is a prison warden. Only the British can, because this is a penal colony. And the Queen, as well as the Bank of England, pays hundreds of thousands of dollars for your birth certificate, which is your prison serial number. See what I'm saying? It's your prison serial number. So that means we are slaves for Britain and the elite rulers. Now, dealing with that, America, as far as British rule understands, is they decided, the Queen of England, because, see, they still worship under royalty. That's Isis and Osiris. And they never break from that tradition. So anytime they tell you, oh, you can have a president, and they got a queen, and even though they might have the subsequent running of the prime minister and all of the parliament and all that, they still got their queen. You see? Because that's the only true sovereignty. It's based on ancient spiritual laws. That's why when they was talking about the Queen of England and they had her birthday back here, they had her inauguration, which was 50-something years. Back in 2002, they kept talking about an ancient mystical ceremony. They are basing that off of stuff that go all the way back to Hemmitt. And the Queen represents the ultimate form of the feminine energy. Now, she ain't nothing but a cracker. And ain't nothing spiritual about that, but it's spiritual to white folk because that's the only thing they got. You see? And their priesthood is in Tel Aviv, Rome. You see where I'm coming from here? So now, they decided that in order for them to exist into the future, number one, they have to sacrifice America. So that's Bush's job. And the damn crackers ain't caught on yet. First of all, Bush's job, see, there's something called a scapegoat. It's in all world mythology. And Bush, you notice one day that motherfucker smart, and then another day he dumb. One day he's so dumb one day till he couldn't even speak about 2 months ago, explaining about the Abu Ghraib prison shit. And then the next day he's smart. That's because, and you run behind, oh, you dumbass president. All the niggas on the little radio show, like that AOK shit. What's that woman on down here? The AOK stuff, the team. All that shit is government. All that shit is government. That Jaleel White shit, that shit government. Them motherfuckers is government. If you notice, they used to have the same shit in New York under Imhotep Gary Bird and them niggas. They come in and discuss the problems, but they don't never give no real deal solutions. Because real deal solutions mean you got to tell the truth. Now my brother called in one day, they was talking about, I'm going to get back to what I was talking about, because they all talking about this president's so dumb. And I'm like, you fools, don't you know that that's a part of the shit? That's a part of the scheme. You focus on him and his incompetence. Meanwhile, they tearing down the damn country. And whether you get Kerry is Bush's cousin and Skull and Bones, you're going to get the same shit. That's where the fucked up movie made to put you back to sleep. Okay, they exposed Bush for a certain thing because they got to expose the country. This is all still spiritual, you know. But yet he tells you that the solution is Democrat. You run the Democrat, you see what I'm saying? And you getting the same shit. They know it for a fact, because remember now, when Democrat comes in, that's when you motherfuckers need to start crying. Because that's the worst part of it. Bill Clinton was the worst president you had. He enacted laws, and he completely tore down the function of black community based on all of the doggone entitlement programs. They were shut down under Bush, under Clinton, but the whole system is one system. So you're going to get carried. You see what I'm saying? You're getting the same nigger. You see what I'm saying? What's that?
Asked him what his position was on the war. He said he backed the war 1,000.
It's all. Even they had that old fool, Andrew Young, saying he backed the war. What kind of nigga is that? You see what I'm saying? Now, Bill Cosby was right. That nigga was right. Because we can talk all the shit we want. You know in your mind, that shit that nigga was saying on there about our kids can't read, can't write, and listen to all this bullshit thinking they're cool, and say your problem get out of school at 2:30. He ain't said nothing, none of y'all niggas ain't said yourself about these crazy niggas up out here. See what I'm saying? He said the same, I'm tired of it, he said. Same stuff, you know. And my point here, because he got millions of dollars, that don't mean shit. So, because he got millions of dollars, he's supposed to co-sign on the ignorance of niggas. You see what I'm saying? Oh, you might argue. I might say that nigga fucked up, but as soon as I got on MARTA train, I get on goddamn MARTA. I'm riding fucking MARTA, which is a microcosm of every race. Because they got international people coming in from the airport. We get on there, some nigga on there talking about, like a motherfucker, he was just talking about this rap song, something, and he just was hollering all out on the shit. Black people was laughing because they was embarrassed. So they had to make like that it was funny, because they didn't want it to seem like there's some savage shit going on. So they were so embarrassed until they did the opposite. They co-signed on this crazy nigga, and I looked up and this motherfucker was in his mid-30s. He wasn't no young guy. And he was just hollering this song and shit, and the more they laughed, he was going crazy. And I'm saying, you know, there's international people on this damn shit. You know what I'm saying? They don't see you in your $40,000 car. They see this nigga on this train. And they from Spain, in the Netherlands, they say, man, them niggas is sick. You see? Now, it's some bullshit. And it ain't got nothing to do with Bill Cosby. Like I said, Bill Cosby's from humble origins. What nigga you know was born with a silver spoon in their mouth? You see what I'm saying? So it's bullshit. Now, but going back, they give you, my brother called and they was talking about these children and how they give them all these drugs in school. And all these black people calling in, well, see, the conscious people, we've been getting into this about 10 years ago. So all the dead people, it's just not catching up to it. And one guy called in, and he was from the pharmaceutical industry, and he was saying these drugs was good for our kids. Some nigga. And they let him stay on there for 20 minutes on that AOK shit. My brother called in and talked about he had two friends, two children that he kept for the summer that came up from my hometown, and them motherfuckers was swinging off the chandeliers. These was problem children, future mass murderers. And he got them off the sugar, and they chilled. As soon as he told her about that, she cut him off. Next caller, please. You see what I'm saying? But they on there talking about Bush is crazy and all this kind of stuff. And what you don't understand here is that's a part of his role. That's a trickster figure. Meanwhile, his job is to tear up the United States for Britain. Now try to understand. Now what's going on here? Because we're still talking about the messianic people. So they say that they have isolated the messianic people, which is you. Why? Now the Jews know it. Because whether you say this shit or not, the only conscious movement at this particular time that went to an advanced level, that's when you got out of the semi-religious flares, you know, and you started getting into scholarship. And you started, when you went back into classical antiquity and linked back up with the Hemmites, they knew it because the book says that there will be a bunch of Egyptians that will rule in the last days. So when you link back up and start calling yourself Hemmite and Egyptian and Hemmite this, they say, those are the ones. And that's these niggas in the United States. So as a result, they said, we have to isolate them. And they started to isolate you during the millennium when they blew up the building. You see what I'm saying? So they're isolating the messianic. This shit ain't going to work. But as a result, they have to go to war, and they have to make the whole world turn against America. I'm so happy I don't know what to do. I've been waiting for this shit for, you know how I've been talking this stuff about the fall of America? I am so happy. Don't y'all understand that this shit is great? When you see a movie like Fahrenheit 9/11, and we've been waiting for some shit like this to happen, now, we're going to survive. You see what I'm saying? Because damn it they do, damn it they don't. See, they caught between a rock and a hard place. We are the invincible ones. You see what I'm saying? Now, it's interesting because these three people from St. Louis, and I went down there at the first of the year and did a lecture, and they're from St. Louis. They had a brother that was with them that was conscious, but he was a little wild or whatever, and he took himself out, what, about a month ago? Was it been about a month? And immediately after he took himself out, he started contacting them. But he told his brother before he died, I will be more effective if I get out of this body. And he started contacting them, contacting some other people, and now they're worshiping this nigga. And these some dead niggas. So now my point here is, we are immortal. Now, if they're going to do lockdown, there's two things. Now, Farrakhan said this back in 85. He said, if your slave went to war with you in this country, we will win. See what I'm saying? Just like the Vietnamese kicked them in the ass. And they ain't the original strain. They said, if your slave went to war with you, we will win. Right? Okay. I'll explain what that is in a minute. How that is done. It's spiritual. So they know that they have to conspire against us, you see, to lock us down. So the first thing they did is this. You know, in the early 80s, trains was unloaded on train tracks in California, and the children used to go down and get the guns, thus armed the people with gang warfare. Remember that? And they said, where did they get the guns? They said that there used to be these trains, used to pull up on the train tracks, and we used to just go down and get these guns every night. Now we know that the gangs was put together at Pepperdine University. The Crips and the Bloods. At least the new part to kill up people in the late 80s and early 90s. Or mid 90s. And they got their weapons off of train tracks where the government would just roll in and there would be boxcars full of guns. Well, obviously they're starting this again because here in Atlanta this time, not in LA, because when they asked the people, where have all the people gone that was in California? Some people say, well, they've gone back to the East Coast. Bullshit. They exterminated those particular people. But last month we got reports of some railroad track here in Atlanta where they unload guns every night and niggas go down and get the guns. So they're trying to start this shit again. Meanwhile, before they could put us on crack cocaine, which some people smoke crack for the first time and was hooked. We've never seen a drug where you smoke the shit for the first time and you hook. But before they could hook us on crack cocaine, they had to hook us on cocaine first. And how did they do it? They put it in the McDonald's. Now remember I was telling you about the brother who went to McDonald's and got a fish sandwich in the black community and his lip got numb. Right? This is the brother right here. We got the motherfucker right on tape. You can put the camera on him. So, because I tell people this across the country. Right here. Right? And he told me about this about 2, 3, 4 years ago. And I said in that case, and the reason why it was the fish sample, it was probably in the burgers too, but we couldn't detect it in the burgers, but the fish samples you could detect it in. Well, lo and behold, me not being a vegetarian no more, thank God, I'll go to the white area and every now and then I'll get me a big fish. So I went up to the black area. This happened a month ago. I went right up here on Cascade and got me a big fish. Me and Linda, she can bear witness, and our lips got numb, which means that they are putting it back in the fast food as a precursor to drop the next load of crack cocaine. See what I'm saying? Or they're trying to get rich this time. Maybe it's for money. You remember? What's that, brother?
Like the gang stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They start putting back in the new things.
All the new gang stuff. So they're starting the second assault. Right. Now, right. You see, this thing is, so they're trying to start this thing back up. So they got a precursor. They're putting this stuff in the big fish. They're putting this stuff in all of the food. Now, this is the other part. Or they might see they would do it for 2 reasons. Just like they locked up all the black men in Texas because it's millions of dollars. Most of their industry is coming from prison. And Bush was a part of that. So they had the African drugs. Anybody got some? I need some water. You know. And you got you got some water, good. Give me some water up in here. Yeah, I'm sure. That's straight. Now, good. Remember they had the African guys that had this stuff. 10 years ago, they could cure crack, cocaine, from the brain. It was some type of plant, but they wouldn't let it in the country. Now, all of a sudden, the doctors and all of them are coming all out with a new drug that can cure crack cocaine. I said, they're getting ready to get paid off a nigga ass. So that means it can either be that they're putting you on crack so that you can get paid. It's just like diabetes, which is in. Now here's the Nexus magazine, the new one for this month. Well, it's several months, but this one is August, July and August. And they got right here, diabetes deception. And they're talking about cures for diabetes, but when you ask your doctor for it, he gets upset because there's billions of dollars in diabetes. And they're inducing diabetes. Just like my mama fucked around. She got hit in a car wreck in 2002. They said she was unbreakable, which means they couldn't find nothing wrong with her. So they convinced her to take the flu shot. The flu shot wiped out all her enzymes. She became allergic to her own damn house that she'd been living in 40 damn years because my granddaddy built the damn house. But her kidneys went below 14%. So she had to go on dialysis. They say, well, you know, she still urinates, but they still have to get the poisons out. Well, you know, she loves it because my mama, she likes to talk. And she go there and there'd be 2 football fields full of black people. And they got to take shifts. You see? They got to take shifts. And she came up and told us the other month that she remembered the day the doctor shut down her kidneys. Her people's kidneys is not just fucking up. She was in the hospital. She said a man came in there and took the fucking IV, put some solution in there and shut her shit down. And she looked right at the motherfucker when he did it. So this is why there's 2 football fields full of people in dialysis is like the new country club. All because of niggas going to the goddamn hospital. Just like when you go to the hospital, when you go to the doctor, they convince you to take your gallbladder out. And no nothing be wrong. Well, it's like all us getting our tonsils out. Well, if something's up in there, why the hell has it got to come out all the time? Just like that damn hysterectomy that they're yanking out of people. By the thousands. You know what I'm saying? So here it is. They taking black people's gallbladders out. When they go in the hospital for something else, they tell them, you don't need your gallbladder. But we know that anything that produces stones is connected to with alchemy called a philosopher's stone. So obviously, the sister Kimberly got some information that the gallbladder is somehow connected to the pineal and pituitary gland. So they're shutting something off down here so it won't get up here, and they're convincing black folks. And like, they got a cure for sickle cell, but the doctors refuse it, and the sickle cell organizations refuse it, and they got a sickle cell organization in every major city. Now hell, they don't have cancer organizations in every major city. They got sickle cell because they're tracking the sickle cell thing, because they can tell based on the sickle cell trait with something in you as something that's advanced. Something that is advanced in the particular aspect of sickle cell can be an attribute. And can destroy most shit that they're trying to put on you based on disease. So they track the sickle cell shit. You see what I'm saying? All of this type of stuff that's going down and all, which is nothing but dealing with the messianic people and tracking the doggone messianic people. What's that? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Okay, so my last partner, white lady, looked at it, and she's like, she called the professor over to look at it. And he looked at it, he's like, oh, it just crystallizes a bad slide.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You see, it's always some stuff that's going on. Right, ain't that something? So there's something else going on. Why would they take the movie Blade and the sickle cell kills the vampire strain in the movie Blade? They don't put stuff in movies for nothing. You see what I'm saying? But yet they would call melanin also the Dracula particle. You see what I'm saying? So it's all kind of stuff that's going on. Like you got Tony Brown with Tony Brown's journal. He's trying to keep his show alive, but he's backed by Pepsi Cola and all these Jewish organizations or whatever. So they done told him the new move now is we got to say that there's no difference between black and white, that there's only a few cells that separate us. Yet the sister Fanny Stokes, who works as a lab technician in Detroit, real good friends with Richard King, says on the internet site there is 20,000 websites on melanin research alone every year, which changes every year because melanin changes every year. Now, wasn't it you that said it was a black geneticist? Remember back that said that she went to that was back in like 98, and said she had gone to a conference and said that they can't, our stuff was so advanced until they can't even track it. They don't even have the science to even study it.
But like our blood, I used to be a researcher.
Mm-hmm.
Our blood has different markers on our blood that are different from all the other people. And the cells that they use in research come from a black woman's breast cancer. They call it the HeLa cells for Hemmitt Latin name.
Mm-hmm.
Because of my DNA, the Jews control the information of the DNA.
Well, it's interesting here because They want to say that there's no difference between black and white, yet they got research that they can't even, I mean, they don't even have the damn technology to research the blood in black folks, and 20-something articles on melanin research a year that changes every year, 20,000, and yet they don't supposed to be nothing different. And yet you're saying the Jews own the whole thing with the DNA. Well, this is interesting. That Howard University now is the #1 researcher in the Human Genome Project of DNA, where they're getting ready to pick 15,000 black people in America of all different walks of life and study their DNA. You see what I'm saying? But here goes again, they're studying that DNA because they're trying to study the messianic DNA of the messianic people. You see what I'm saying? Now I got a friend to let you know, they're saying we must turn all indigenous people against these people. Now I got a friend that's up in New York named Shabazz, and he got this African that talks to him about Africans and how they view us. And he said, based on what the African tells him, is that, I'm talking about, I don't know about the continental Africans, I ain't never met them. Like I say, they don't let them get off the planet. So I'm not talking about the continental Africans. But the ones that come over here are indoctrinated till they say that to them, we are worse than animals. That the white man is up top, and out of all races, the Africans in America, or indigenous people in America, because we need to get out of that shit. We are fucking global people. You know what I'm saying? The Africans in America are the lowest. They're hated the worst amongst the Africans. And that's all designed by the Europeans and the Jews. Because we are still a messianic people. And we are a global people. Now you know about this guy, Eugene Adams. He did a tape of the African origins in Asia, and they got some Asian temples over in Asia where they show us going into slavery. They show us in slavery. They show us taking dope and blowing saxophones, tap dancing. They got a whole history of slavery in Asia. And this guy has done a whole documentary on it. There are some temples. He showed the temples and all. Now we know this happened because Renoka Rashidi last summer tried to go down there. They told that motherfucker, look, do the tourist thing, but you're going to get locked up if you try too far. So they got some temples over there, and this guy's done a documentary on it, which, you know, Sambo is an Asian god, a black god from Asia. You get Sambo to Asia and Sambo. I even found it in a book, in another book. See if I got this book. It's another book. They got it in here. The god Sambo. In this book, The Triadic Heart of Shiva, which we're going to get in tonight because this is very important. But they got us in slavery and everything. Anyway, we got a bad copy of this thing about 2 years ago. And we was looking for this guy, and the guy, Shabazz found him, and we got a clear copy of this shit. So, you know, you can get in touch with SiriusTimes, and there's a clear copy of this thing. Guy is Eugene Adams, and it's amazing. They show us going into slavery. They show the slave masters. They show all that. But they talk about us in those temples will be the messianic people that will receive a future Buddha. A future Buddha. And the future Buddha will liberate the people. Now this is interesting because if you study some stuff from the Theosophical Society and other things from the turn of the century, Buddha is a form of melanin called a Buddha Rupa. So it's still talking about some shit inside of you. You see what I'm saying? But the Asians who hate us know this because they got the temples over in Asia. But it's all, every race knows that the messianic strain, when they study our text, is talking about a people that they say the future Buddha will appear in America in these temples of 2000. It's amazing when you see this video. You know, when you see this video, but we got a clear copy of it. African presence in Asia, Eugene Adams. I got the clear copy in my crib. I'm going to give to SiriusTimes so it can be available to you. I brought it back down from New York and stuff. It's unbelievable. Now, but going back to that same messianic strain of that messianic. I got one other thing of history we got to deal with, and that is this. Now I want to go. You could go down to. You could either go to the black. You could go wherever you go to get this CD, but I want to get you a CD because whenever there's some excellent talent come out, okay, 5 minutes, then we're gonna go. You want to take a break? What you want to do? Yeah, because about being a little hot up in here, we'll take a little break for a minute. But I want to give you this person. Now there's a guy. For you people that's tired of all that fucking rap shit, there's a guy up in Little 5 Points. You know, they got a bookstore over there, and across the street they got this bazaar. There's a black guy that sells alternative music. So he sells the neo-soul, but we talking about some upgraded stuff. And he sells some serious stuff up in there. So if you're ever looking for some shit that you know that resembles some stuff from the 70s, a little bit of the 80s, but a little bit of all the stuff, plus some new progressive stuff going. A guy, he specializes in all that good-ass music. There's a sister coming from Oakland. Her name is Ledisi. Anybody heard of her? Ledisi. She got 2 songs. She got 2. Now you can get them from him in Little 5 Points, or you can go where you got to go to get them. She had one come out in 2001 on an independent label. Well, she did it was independent. Then she just got a label, and the other one that was for 2001 is now out with the new one. But the first one is called Ledisi, Ledisi. The first one is called Song Singer. Got to get this shit. The second one is called, the new one is called Feeling Orange but Kinda Blue. The first one, you know, she did the Jill Scott, Erykah Badu, and at the end of it, she started going, but it's got a jazz twist. The second one, she goes up against Ella Fitzgerald, which ain't nobody been able to do since she started scatting. You know what I'm saying? She went up against a fucking trombone one night and fucked the trombone up, Ella. This Ledisi from Oakland, young girl, she kicks her right in the ass. When you hear, I mean, it's some unbelievable stuff. But you want to get that, get that particular Ledisi. Also, you want to get Marvin Gaye's last album, the one called Marvin Gaye, Romantically Yours. That's the one he said it killed him all for because he was getting ready to take it to another level. Marvin Gaye's Romantically Yours, its own CD. The first part of the record, he sounded like Nat King Cole. The second part, he's going into his version of his new shit, unbelievable. It's very key that you get that. Also, you need to get a CD, Marvin Gaye's the CD from 1980 in Europe. I think it's coming from Germany. It's a CD out. A DVD, excuse me. A DVD of a concert. I think he was over in Germany. It's a concert from 1980. Marvin Gaye, you need to get this concert. You need to get this concert and all. It's very key. So how much time we got? Now this is interesting because remember I remember the last time I was here, they had the fire in November or October, and Smokey Robinson went out there and saved a whole group of white folks' house, and the damn fire was jumping on. The chips was going on his house and wouldn't burn his house up, but he's the god of smoke. Well, it's interesting because when I went back to Detroit in June, the sister Fanny that had me to come, that's her uncle. And so she said that they was talking to Smokey, and Smokey was like, shit, They were like, you got to leave smoking. I said, no, fuck that. I'm going to go in here and pray and do what I got to do. And the shit, I'm going to go do what I got to do. And that shit ain't going to burn down my house at all. And as a result, showing you the spirit we have. You see, so in so many words, they had him on Entertainment Tonight talking about it, but here it is in real life. When we catch up with his family, she said he said, hell, he went in there and did some magic, and as a result, he saved the whole crew of white folks' house. You see, there's this very key, very key on how this thing is going down. So how much time we got? 2 minutes. Okay. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and then we're going to get into the lecture because we got a lot to cover. Okay? All right. I'm going to sit down for me because he said I leave, and I just do it this way to get through some of this particular stuff. You know, your Williams girl, the Venus Williams in them, is losing. And the reason why they're losing is because they're cutting their energy with sleeping with them white boys. You see? Now, as well as Tiger Woods. As well as Tiger Woods. And they're cutting the Venus girls, cutting their energy. Now, it's one thing to be on a whole team. You know, because you got, but when you're talking about tennis, you're talking about you need all the physical strength you can get. And so by them sleeping with the white boys now, they're cutting their energy. Now this is interesting because my Queen Linda used to dance for Sun Ra, and it was known around in Sun Ra's band that Sun Ra used to could come in, and when they was practicing, he used to could tell his band members which ones would start sleeping with white girls, because the music would automatically get off. And he would say, yo, you know, you need to take a sabbatical or whatever, and get yourself together. So they could tell, he could literally tell when they start sleeping with white girls, because the music would change. You see what I'm saying? What's that? Uh-huh. I think it was influenced with the powers to be to get them white boys up in there. As well as like I say, Snigger Woods. Now here it is with him. Do you know that they tried to poison him 2 years in a row? With the Masters, he went down last year and ate a sandwich, got sick. Affected his game. This year he went back, ate a sandwich, and got sick again and threw up the whole weekend. So they literally tried to poison him. And he's so dumb to even catch on. But now he's losing because, you know, his energy's being cut. He got them white girls, you see? And so it's just amazing. But I just thought that was very interesting that Sun Ra used to could tell when they would sleep with white girls in his band. And he could tell, you know, based on his certain sound. They would play different. So it's the same thing with these Williams sisters. It's just amazing how this thing goes down. Going right along, couple of other things I'm going to deal with right now. I want to get my papers right because they're blowing and stuff. But this is interesting because my queen said that she used to go to this Hindu temple in Washington, D.C. And they got a picture of Shiva, which, as you know, is the Hindu Osiris-Horus complex, in the temple, and the picture looked just like Michael Jackson. You see what I'm saying? As Michael Jackson looks now. So, we might not think everything is everything. But the people who rule over us knows everything is everything. You see what I'm saying? Well, just very interesting that and see, the mystery here is there's a part of Shiva, Horus, and the ancient gods. There's a part of Shiva called Shiva Hermaphrodite. Now this is very key in what I'm getting ready to get into tonight. Shiva Hermaphrodite, you'll see him with a breast on one side and male on one side and female on the other side. And in so many words, this is indicating something that has to do with the black man, which is the great mystery. Now, and so, the Hermaphrodite type image, not homosexuality, but Shiva Hermaphrodite, the Hermaphrodite type image is got something to do with the final union of the both male and female energy, which the woman June Singer's book Androgyny that was out, that came out of, it was out of print for most of the 90s, but it came back in 99. It's called Androgyny by June Singer, and she talks about how in the last days there's going to be a whole feminine world that's going to flip over, and that particular feminine world going to take over the earth. Now, which is interesting here because this guy, did I leave the book back there? The Return of the Goddess book, did I left it back there. There's one more copy. Well, there's a guy named Mark Amaru Pinkham that wrote a book called Return of the Ancient Serpents of Wisdom. He just came out with another book called Return of the Goddess, Mark Amaru Pinkham. And he talks about how this goddess thing is going to take over. Now, I'm going ahead of myself, but I'm going to tie this into what this has to do with the black man and why they got you on lockdown and what you really represent. Now, this is different than the homosexuality thing. Because the mystery here is if they can separate you from your woman, then they understand that they can stop the coming of this, or the activation of this messianic race. That's why there's so much disparity going on. You see what I'm saying? Between the male and female. You see what I'm saying? And that's induced not only physically, but socially and culturally, that was systematically put together by this white boy and the ruling people to make sure that we don't come together. You see what I'm saying? To make sure that we don't come together. But, so one of these things, I'm going ahead of myself, but that particular part, now we're not talking about the gay thing.